In a major provocation that has sent ripples across Europe and NATO, Poland's military confirmed early Wednesday, September 10th, that it shot down drones violating its airspace during Russia's ongoing attacks on Ukraine. This is an act of aggression that posed a real threat to the safety of our citizens, Poland's Operation Command said in a post on X. A few hours later, the command confirmed that forces had returned to standard readiness levels and expressed gratitude to NATO's Allied Air Command and the Netherlands Air Force, whose fighters responded and engaged potential threats to Allied territory. This marks the first time NATO aircraft have engaged potential threats in Allied airspace. Colonel Martin L. O'Donnell, spokesperson for Supreme Headquarters Allied Powers Europe, emphasized that NATO is committed to defending every kilometer of its territory, including its airspace. NATO's Supreme Headquarters and Allied Command operations are coordinating closely with Poland and other allies after drones entered Polish airspace. General Alexis Grinkowicz, Supreme Allied Commander Europe, said NATO responded quickly and decisively, showing its capability and resolve to defend all Allied territory. Prime Minister Donald Tusk described the incident as the first time Russian drones had been intercepted over the territory of a NATO member state. He said the incursion involved a huge number of drones and called it a large-scale provocation. Following an emergency meeting of Poland's National Security Bureau, Tusk warned that the situation was serious, adding that Allied consultations led to a formal request to activate Article 4 of the NATO treaty. This mechanism allows consultation if a member feels threatened.
The hostile drones that posed a direct and immediate threat were successfully shot down. I asked General Kukwe, the Chief of the General Staff, to convey words of appreciation to the pilots who took part in this operation. The procedures worked, the decision-making process was flawless. The threat has been eliminated completely, thanks to the firm and decisive stance of the military commanders, effectively. Our soldiers, pilots, and also our allies. Thank you very much for that. We are most likely dealing with a large-scale provocation, but at the same time we are in consultations with our allies. I am in constant contact with the NATO Secretary General, so that over the next few hours and days, and in the future to act just as effectively as we did tonight in the face of this kind of threat. This is the first time that Russian drones have been shot down over the territory of a NATO country. And that's why all our allies are treating the situation very seriously. We have not recorded any casualties. Of course, the search for the remains of the downed drones is ongoing. We are gradually reopening the airports. The closure of the airports was not caused by a threat or an attack on the airports, but was necessitated by the situation due to operational needs of our airmen. At this moment, these airports are being systematically reopened. Obviously, there will probably be some problems, disruptions related to delays, but I'm sure you all understand the necessity of this kind of action. I'm also in constant contact, of course, with our military and with the President. For many, many long hours, we have been diligently talking and carefully assessing the profound and far-reaching consequences of these truly dramatic and significant events. We are also assessing future needs. This situation shows how important not only investments are, but also full coordination of actions, simple procedures, so that in case of a threat we can act appropriately and decisively. These procedures have worked. I would also like to thank the commanders very much when I was at the operational command last night. With the utmost respect, I observed the extremely professional actions of our soldiers and commanders, as well as all the civilian services that have been involved in this operation from the very beginning. It is still ongoing. I'm talking about the search for debris and the possible identification of any incidents, such as damage to infrastructure. For now, as I said, fortunately we have no information about any possible casualties. Consultations with our allies are ongoing. I want to emphasize in the strongest terms that the cooperation between institutions is exemplary. I am in constant contact. We have already had 2 meetings tonight, including with the President. In a moment, I will also be speaking with the Speaker of the Sejm. It is extremely important that in moments of such trial, all institutions function like a single fist. And I must assure you here, with full conviction, that all these institutions are passing their test. An important lesson for all of us. We are ready to repel such provocations and attacks. We are well prepared, and the situation is serious. And today no one can have any doubts that we must prepare for various scenarios. At this moment, I can say that this first test, our military forces, our steadfast allies, and also the comprehensive procedures that have been meticulously prepared for such a significant eventuality have successfully passed this crucial test, and the well-established procedures and detailed plans prepared for such a critical case are indeed working effectively. There is no reason to panic. Life will go on as normal. We will keep citizens informed about all events so that there is complete clarity about what is happening in Polish airspace and at the Polish border. But at this moment, there is no reason to introduce any restrictions that would make everyday life more difficult for citizens. If there is such a need, we will of course communicate promptly. Thank you very much. Such quick and very precise communication prepared by the military. This is also a guarantee of informational reliability. I am addressing everyone without exception, to all politicians, journalists, commentators, to be very sensitive to attempts at disinformation and hostile propaganda from the very first minutes of this attack or provocation. The Russians are very active online, and disinformation, false information, and attempts to spread panic will certainly accompany us. And here, we all must also pass the test of civic and political responsibility. We cannot, under any circumstances, give in to this kind of hybrid informational attacks and disinformation. That is why I ask you to rely primarily on official statements, those communicated by the Polish armed forces. We have agreed with the President that we will formulate these political statements together, also with our associates. At precisely 6:30 in the evening, I had yet another important meeting scheduled with the esteemed President. Now we have a government meeting. We will be here at work all day today, of course, so that, as a government, so that we can respond to any possible and unexpected situations. Although, as I said, at this moment the situation seems to be under control.
Polish President Karol Nawrocki echoed the sentiment, declaring, "The security of our homeland is our highest priority." Poland, as a NATO member, is now at the center of a significant transatlantic security concern. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte is reportedly in close contact with Polish leadership, following the temporary closure of Warsaw and other major airports in response to the drone incursions. The European Union has also expressed full solidarity with Poland. EU Council President Antonio Costa and EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen condemned the drone violations, with von der Leyen calling the attack reckless and announcing that the EU is working on a 19th sanctions package, including faster phasing out of Russian fossil fuels.
But we have all seen what Russia means by diplomacy. Putin refuses to meet President Zelenskyy. Last week, Russia launched the largest number of drones and ballistic missiles in a single attack. Yesterday, there was a missile attack on a village in Donetsk, targeting people waiting to pick up their pensions. More than 20 were killed. And just today, we have seen a reckless and unprecedented violation of Poland and Europe's airspace by more than 10 Russian Shahid drones. Europe stands in full solidarity with Poland. Putin's message is clear, and our response must be clear too. We need more pressure on Russia to come to the negotiation table. We need more sanctions. We are now working on the 19th package in coordination with partners. We're particularly looking at phasing out Russian fossil fuels faster. We're looking at the shadow fleet and at third countries. And at the same time, we need more support for Ukraine. No one has contributed as much as Europe. Close to 170 billion euros of military and financial aid so far, and more will be needed. And it should not only be European taxpayers who bear the brunt of this. This is Russia's war, and it is Russia that should pay.
Calling the attack a deliberate provocation, NATO confirmed it is in close consultation with Poland. The alliance emphasized the seriousness of a NATO member's airspace being violated and the potential implications for regional security. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy warned of further escalation, stating that Poland was targeted by at least 8 drones during the massive strike on western Ukraine. This unprecedented incursion into Polish airspace highlights the growing risk of spillover from the war in Ukraine and raises concerns about how NATO and European powers will respond to potential further provocations.